So the next one, what we're going to talk about is emotional rest. You feel emotional rest when you no longer feel the need to perform or meet external expectations. Many of us, because of the work or the ministries that we're doing, we often have to hide our feelings. We cannot really be our true self. I call it the holy mask, okay? It especially shows when we go to church, we all have to be happy, no sadness. We always have to be happy. But inside, sometimes we really struggles. We have a lot of challenges or anguish, but we just cannot be ourselves. So this is the emotional rest, is when we can be truly be ourselves. So each time when we minister to someone else, we give a bit of ourselves to others. So when it takes, in a longer period of time, that could that when we were giving, condolences, sympathy to a friend, or counsel someone in sin, or crying baby, or conflict with a coworker or spouse. So when our emotional withdrawals, we call this emotional withdrawals, larger than the emotional capacity, we will have emotional fatigue. I think we all aware of that. So when we continue giving, we will have emotional fatigue. So let's think for a minute. Where are you expending your emotional energy right now? What is draining you? What is depleting you emotionally? Could be the people, could be the situations, could be many things. So when we have emotional rest deficit, this is some of the symptoms. We tend to focus on our own failures and self-doubt, insecure, so we don't want to try new things. We beat ourselves up if there is just a small mistake, or we feel depressed or angry about our lives, or we just overly worrying, overly anxious about the situation. There are some ways that we can help with the situation. I give you a few here. Start counting a blessing list, or maybe you can start a list of counting your blessings. And I find that is very helpful when I feel depressed, that I can still have something to thank God for. Spend time with encouraging people, someone that you can be real. Maybe some friendship that you need to develop, that you can be real. I put here, avoid negative people. And just a minute, I'll ask you this question. Start a gratitude journal, highlight of the days. Is there anything I can be thankful for in my family, in my children, or my spouse? Or set up emotional boundaries with people who are negative. But you're probably thinking, how in the world I can set with a boundary with my spouse, or my family, or my ministry people, or my coworkers, when I see them all the time? So let's pause here for a second. What are some of the tips that will help us to set up some emotional boundaries with the people we often have to see, or ministry people, or coworkers? Could be your spouse, could be your children, could be your family, could be someone that you cannot really ignore. Okay, what can we do? To that, I don't want to say who, because sometimes my mom called me the same thing. So yeah, I have to be very wise how much I listen. And I've learned my selective listening skill so that I don't take it too personally sometimes. But I love what you said, Achi. Sometimes you might have to take a step back and really have to be, boundaries with that person, just holding back. So here are a few things that we can do besides what sister just shared. Maybe distance yourself, vent out your negative feelings to God first. And I think that this is such a powerful tool that I've been practicing, especially if I sometimes get into argument with some people around me. And I find that it's best I don't talk to that person first, because usually I'm emotionally very heated. And I find that it's such a great avenue for me to talk to God first, complain to him first. And I often in my prayer, I'm very, very straight and tell God, hey, this person, da, 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 da. So I'm very real. I was like, well, how can he or she do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. And I find that it's funny as I vent out my true feelings before him. he would change my heart sometimes and change the situation. It's miraculous every time. And I realize that, we can't save all. So sometimes you just have to lift up that person to God, just given the capacity that you have, we're not the savior and God is. Know your limitations, fill up your own emotional tank. And I cannot tell you how important it is to fill up our own emotional tank. Why I say that? It's almost like a vaccination. Now we have COVID vaccination, right? All of us, right? We all have that, right? We all COVID vaccinations. And I think in the same way, when we fill up our own emotional tank, it's almost like a vaccination so that we can meet people that is training us, that is not being, energizing us, it's depleting our soul. So let's think for a minute. What are some of the things that actually fill up your emotional tank? Give you a quick minute, just one quick minute. If you have a piece of paper, I want you to draw this little, like a container, put inside what is something that will kind of fill up your emotional tank. If you have the piece of paper in front of you, if you're not, it's fine. You can just put it in your head. Imagine there's a tank in your head. All right, I hope you have some time to think about what fill up your emotional tank, and I hope that in the next few weeks or this coming week, maybe just spend one day, do something that kind of rejuvenate yourself, okay? Just maybe a few hours that you set aside, 1 hour, do something that will kind of refill your emotional tank. All right, so now we have talked about creative rest, physical rest, mental rest, and emotional rest that we just talked about to fill up our emotional tank.